Thank you for stopping by the Life of Sassy. This week I have 3 great dinners for you, plus a slow cooker dessert. If you like all things to do with food and a little bit of life mixed in, please consider joining my YouTube family by clicking that subscribe button. And if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Now let's get cooking. Tonight for dinner, I'm going to be making a new to us recipe. I'm going to be making mushroom pork chops over mashed potatoes with air fryer green beans. Let me turn you around and I'll show you what we need. Here's what I'm going to be using for tonight's dinner. I need chicken broth, pepper, salt. In that bowl is my white mushrooms. Today's Saturday when I'm recording this. I was cleaning out my fridge earlier in the day, and since I knew I needed those for dinner, I just went ahead and chopped them up. I'm going to be using butter. There's my pork chop, velouté to thicken the sauce, onion powder, garlic powder, Worcestershire. There are my green beans to go in the air fryer, and over here on the stove, I already have my potatoes cut up and ready to get going. The first thing I'm going to do is put together everything I need for my sauce for my pork chop. I need a 1.5 cups of chicken broth. And to this, I need to add a teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce. I'm just going to go ahead and eyeball it. I'm not going to get out a measuring spoon. Alrighty, that's what we need there. I'll set that off to the side, and now I'm going to put all of my spices in this little dish. The original recipe calls for 1.5 teaspoons of salt. That seems like a lot to me. I'm only going to use about 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon. Then I need 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder. And I'm just going to go ahead and mix that up. And now I'll get all of this put away, and then we can start cooking the pork chops. I've just gone ahead and heated my pan over medium-low heat. I'm just going to go ahead and add a little bit of canola oil to cook my pork chops in. I'm just going to go ahead and take my seasoning blend and sprinkle it on top of the pork chops. And then I'm just going to flip them over and season the other side. I know you should do this out of the pan, but I didn't want to dirty a cutting board, so I'm cheating a little bit. And there we go. We're just going to let those cook off for about 4 to 5 minutes per side until they're cooked all the way through. My pork chops have been cooking for about 5 minutes. I'm just going to go ahead and flip them over. Now I'm going to let them cook on the other side for about another 4 to 5 minutes until they're up to temperature. My pork chops have been cooking for about another 6 minutes on the other side. I've checked them. They're cooked all the way through, so I'm going to take them out and just put them on this cutting board for now. Now I'm going to go ahead and add about 1 tablespoon of butter to my pan. Now that my butter is melted and starting to foam, I'm going to go ahead and add in my mushrooms. The original recipe calls to cook them for about 5 to 7 minutes. I'm only going to cook them for about a minute or two, and then I'll go ahead and add in the chicken broth and Worcestershire sauce. I'm also going to go ahead and add in the rest of my seasoning mix that I made in the beginning, and I'm just going to let these cook. Sorry for the noise in the background. I just have my air fryer heating up, and if you have an air fryer, you know how loud they are. They're great, but they are super loud. I'm just adding about 1 tablespoon of olive oil to my frozen green beans. Then I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle in about 1/8 teaspoon of salt, just a pinch of black pepper, not even 1/8 teaspoon. Then I'm going to go ahead and add in about 1/4 teaspoon of both onion and garlic powder. I'm going to give these a mix, and then once my air fryer has preheated, I'm going to go ahead and add them in. I have my air fryer preheating to 350 right now. The air fryer has preheated to 350. I let it preheat for about 3 minutes as per the instructions. I've gone ahead and dumped in my green beans. I'm going to check these every 5 minutes. I'm thinking they're going to take about 10 to 15 minutes, but I'm not 100% cooking with my air fryer yet, so I'll let you know at the end how long it really took. My mushrooms ended up cooking for about 2 minutes because I was getting my green beans in the air fryer. Now I'm going to go ahead and add in my chicken broth and Worcestershire sauce, and I'm going to go ahead and turn this up to medium heat. And then we just want to let this simmer for about 5 to 7 minutes, and then we'll go ahead and thicken it up. My sauce has been simmering for about 5 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and thicken it. The original recipe called for you to put in 2 tablespoons of flour with the mushrooms, which would thicken the gravy. But I'm just going to go ahead and use Velouté because that's what I'm used to. Okay, my gravy has thickened. In the original recipe, they just tell you to pour the gravy over the pork chops. But since I'm still waiting for my green beans and my potatoes to finish cooking, I'm going to go ahead, add my pork back in, let it sit in the gravy until everything else is ready to be served. And there we go. It took right about 10 minutes. My green beans are done. Now we're going to go ahead and plate up dinner. Here we have tonight's dinner plated up. We have our mushroom pork chops over mashed potatoes with air fryer green beans. Tonight I made the mushroom pork chops over mashed potatoes with air fryer green beans. I was really excited when I found this recipe because I feel like mushrooms and pork is a classic combination. But I also feel like normally when you find recipes that call for pork chops and mushrooms, it always comes with a cream sauce. Now, don't get me wrong, I love a good cream sauce, but sometimes you want something different. And especially for us, I find when it comes to pork, we go through spurts. We eat it and then we don't eat it. And the biggest factor there is that we always cook our pork the same way. So I think we just get bored and almost subconsciously we just, nah, I don't want pork. So to find this recipe, I was excited to find something new and different we could try. Now I will admit, as I was cooking this, I did get a little bit hesitant. I started to worry that the gravy wasn't going to have a lot of flavor. I am happy to report I was wrong. The gravy had amazing flavor between the Worcestershire sauce and the seasoning mix you added to the mushrooms. This gravy had amazing flavor, and we will make this dish again. The other item I made was the air fryer green beans. I am trying. I love my air fryer, but it intimidates me a little bit. So I am trying to use it more and more. But the one thing I have found with the air fryer is sometimes I feel like what you cook in it dries out. So I think that's the main reason I've been hesitant, but I'm happy to report these green beans were excellent. They had that little bit of crisp on them that you want from roasting them, but they were still juicy and tender, and I will definitely make these again. All in all, this was an excellent meal. We will make it again. We loved it. Tonight's What's for Dinner, I've tweaked a little bit. On my original meal plan for this week, I had chicken souvlaki wraps with Greek salad because I was going to pick up some pitas one of our local stores had on sale when I went shopping. I didn't go shopping, so I don't have the pitas. Plus, looking in my fridge, making chicken souvlaki bowls just made more sense. I had a lot of ingredients in my fridge that can go into a bowl that needed to be used up, including some leftover rice, and I had a bunch of vegetables I needed to use up. Now, normally when I make chicken souvlaki bowls, I do use the Kirkland stir-fry blend that comes in the freezer section, but this time around, since I have zucchini, mushrooms, and peppers on hand, I'm going to go ahead and use those. Let's head in the kitchen and I'll show you what I'm using to make tonight's dinner. Here is everything I'm going to be using to make tonight's dinner. I have mushrooms, a zucchini, a yellow pepper, lemon. In that container is some leftover rice, butter, Greek salad dressing, we make that ourselves, some sliced up cucumber I did during my meal prep, my chicken souvlaki from the freezer, some feta cheese, and some grape tomatoes. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and prep all of my vegetables. Now, if you wanted to, you could go ahead and use a stir-fry mix for this. That's actually what we normally do. I really love the stir-fry mix from Costco. It's a frozen bag. Normally that's what I use to make this recipe, but we just happened to have all of these vegetables on hand this time, so I decided that I'd go ahead and chop my own vegetables. There we go. I have my zucchini, my pepper, and my mushrooms all cut up. Let's get to cooking. I preheated my pan over medium-low heat, and now I'm just going to add in a little bit of olive oil to cook my vegetables in. If you are doing this with the stir-fry mix instead of the fresh vegetables, I just start by cooking the frozen vegetables in the pan. I don't add anything to them, and I just let them cook down until they start to get soft, and then I add my chicken. But because I'm using fresh vegetables tonight, I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil, and first I'm going to add in my peppers. These vegetables are cut up fairly small, so they're not going to take long to cook. The other thing is, when you're making this recipe, you definitely want to use a large frying pan. Since everything goes in the same pan, you need a pan that can accommodate the vegetables, the chicken, and the rice. My peppers have been cooking down for about 2 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and add my chicken in next. I don't want to add my other vegetables yet because I don't want my zucchini or mushrooms to become mushy. Now, this chicken souvlaki, we pre-make it ourselves. When we buy chicken breast, we go ahead, we marinate it, and then we put it in sucker bags and freeze it. This happens to be my last bag in the freezer, so next time we make it, I'll share with you guys exactly how we do that. But I'm just going to go ahead and let my chicken start to cook. And these chunks are fairly big, so what I'll probably end up doing is once they're cooked, and I'll take my wooden spoon and just break them in half. I'm just going to go ahead now and break up my chicken chunks. I'm just pushing my wooden spoon into them. Next time, I will definitely make the chunks smaller when we put them in the bag, because these are a little bit big to put into souvlaki bowls. My chicken's probably been cooking about 4 or 5 minutes. I've gone ahead and broken it up into the smaller chunks just to make it easier to put it in the bowls. And now I'm going to add my zucchini in. And I'm probably going to give this about a minute or two, and then I'll go ahead and add the mushrooms. These are fairly small pieces of zucchini, so I only let them cook for about a minute. Now I'm going to go ahead and add my mushrooms. And I'll let these cook for about a minute, and then I'm going to start adding in my rice. My mushrooms have been cooking for about a minute. Now I'm going to go ahead and add in my leftover rice. Even if you don't have leftover rice, I always combine it all together in one pan and then serve it out of the pan once it's been combined. Now here's a trick I learned from Tribe of Many, also on YouTube. I'll link their channel down below. When they're reheating their brown rice, they add equal parts butter and lemon juice. So I just made a well in the middle, added about a tablespoon of butter, and now I'm going to squeeze in some lemon juice. Oops, got a seed. I thought I had picked them all out. Apparently I missed one. And now I'm just going to go ahead and mix this all together and cook it until my rice is heated through. That has been cooking for about 5 minutes. My rice is completely heated through, so now we can go ahead and serve this. Here are our chicken souvlaki bowls. I topped mine with garlic dip, which I had in the fridge as well. Here is my Greek salad. More to come on why the Greek salad was not included in the video, and also why there is no feta. Tonight for dinner, I made those chicken souvlaki bowls. This meal is great. It's wonderful. We've made it multiple times before. It definitely is a go-to in our house when we have leftover rice. But if you don't have leftover rice, whipping up the rice is no problem. I just find sometimes when you have leftover rice, what am I going to do with it? And this is always a great option because this recipe is so versatile. Normally when I make it, I have been using the Kirkland brand stir-fry frozen vegetables just because I found them last year and we love them. We always have a bag in our freezer. This time, I needed to use up those zucchinis, peppers, and mushrooms, so I added those, and it was still great. That's what I love about dishes like this. They're so versatile. Whatever you have on hand, toss it in and it's gonna work. But we do need to talk about my Greek salad. It was missing the feta cheese. I'm sure when you watched the first clip of my video, you noticed that great big huge tub. That was a brand new tub. I popped the safety seal off, I opened it up, and the whole top was covered in mold. So that is going back because it was a brand new tub and I just bought it. And I missed the feta cheese in the salad, but the cucumbers, tomatoes, and the Greek dressing was still amazing. The Greek dressing has so much flavor, and for me, you can never go wrong with cucumbers. But yeah, that feta was disappointing. Now, these bowls have so much flavor. I personally pre-make the chicken souvlaki and put it in my freezer. You know me. I can just defrost it, cut that top off, and there we have dinner. And that is honestly one of my tricks to weeknight meals. There's probably about 4 or 5 different marinades we use that we will pre-marinate our chicken and have it in the freezer and ready to go. Just because now you don't have to worry about it. Even if I forget about dinner until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I don't have to think, oh, I didn't marinate the chicken. It's in my freezer, it's marinated and ready to go, and that is one of my tricks. That happened to be my last bag, so next time I go Costco shopping, we will be buying more chicken breasts and we will make more, and I will share that recipe with you. But this recipe has so much flavor in it, and it's so versatile. No matter what you have on hand, you can make it work, and it is a great, quick weeknight dinner, and it's definitely one that will remain on repeat in our house. Tonight for dinner, I'm just making side dishes. We've hit our first heat wave of the summer, which means our stove and oven are off limits. We don't have air conditioning, so when it comes to cooking in the summer, we have to get really creative. So if you're interested in slow cooker, Instant Pot, air fryer, electric skillet recipes, please consider joining my YouTube family and clicking that subscribe button down below, because you're going to be seeing a lot of them in the upcoming weeks as we navigate cooking in the summer. Yesterday, I had a family member go to Costco to return my moldy feta and pick up a replacement one. I couldn't go, I had to work. While they were there, they also went ahead and picked up a rotisserie chicken. So for tonight's dinner, we're going to be eating the rotisserie chicken, and I'm going to be making Instant Pot warm baked potato salad, as well as a cucumber, tomato, and bocconcini salad. Let's head in the kitchen and let's get started. Here is everything I'm going to need to make my warm Instant Pot baked potato salad. What I love about this recipe is the first night we make it, we eat it warm out of the Instant Pot, but after that you can eat it at room temperature or even cold. It's very versatile, so leftovers are always welcomed of this salad. But I'm going to go ahead and chop up these potatoes. They're just some russet potatoes I peeled. Those will go in the Instant Pot. I have some bacon, green onion, sour cream, Greek yogurt, cheddar cheese, pepper, salt, chives, and parsley. Let's go ahead and get cooking. Here I have my Instant Pot base. I've just gone ahead and put my steamer basket in with about half a cup of water down below. I'm going to go ahead and cut my potatoes into a 1-inch dice and add them to the steamer basket. There we have my potatoes cut up and in my Instant Pot. I'm just going to go ahead and put my lid on. Make sure my vent is turned to ceiling. And then I'm going to go ahead and pressure cook these on high for 7 minutes. If you were to cut your potato pieces smaller, you'd want to decrease the time that you're cooking them. But I'm going to let these cook for 7 minutes and then naturally release. It's probably going to take about 20 minutes, but while that happens, we'll go ahead and make the dressing. Let's go ahead and make our dressing. I'm going to add about half a cup each of sour cream and Greek yogurt. You could use one or the other. I have done it where I've just used all sour cream, but since we found the Kirkland Greek yogurt, I really do like to mix it half and half. When it comes to making this dressing, I just eyeball everything, and it's really easy. If you're making more, you can just up the dressing. If you're making less, just cut it in half. It's extremely versatile. Now, the one thing I will say, if you find your dressing to be a little bit thick, you can thin it out with a little bit of milk. Now we have to remember this is a potato salad and potatoes tend to be a bit bland, so I'm going to go ahead and add half a teaspoon of salt, about a quarter of a teaspoon of black pepper. I'm going to add about a tablespoon to a tablespoon and a half of parsley, about a teaspoon of dried chives. Let's add a little more. Let's do a teaspoon and a half. I'm going to go ahead and give that a mix. Then I'm going to go ahead and add about an eighth to a quarter of a cup of bacon bits. I'm going to add about 2 chopped green onions. There's actually 3 or 4 in here. I have another meal I also need green onion for, so I'm not going to add it all. And lastly, we're going to go ahead and add our cheddar cheese. We want to add about half a cup. And then we're just going to mix this all together. And now we'll just leave this sitting off to the side until our potatoes come out of the Instant Pot. Okay, it took about 22 minutes, but my potatoes have naturally released. I've just brought them over. I am now going to take the steamer basket out and put it into my dressing. And this is the part where you try really hard not to make a mess. And now we're just going to mix this all together. I probably could have used a touch less of the dressing, but this will be fine once it cools. All of the dressing is going to absorb into the potatoes since we put them in hot. So now we're going to go ahead and get everything ready and we can have dinner. Also, to go with tonight's dinner, I'm going to make a cucumber with balsamic dressing salad. I'm going to use some cherry tomatoes. Here's some cucumbers I chopped up during my meal prep. I have our homemade balsamic dressing, as well as some mini bocconcini. Let's go ahead and put the salad together. The first thing I'm going to do is just add my cucumbers to the bowl, and then I'm going to go ahead and add a few tablespoons of my balsamic dressing. I just want to let the cucumbers marinate in it for a little bit. This will end up sitting for about half an hour before we eat it. In the past, I've let it sit as long as an hour. Now, I wouldn't add the tomatoes if you're going to let it sit that long. But let's just go ahead and mix those up and set them off to the side. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut up my bocconcini. Even though they're mini bocconcini, I do like to cut them up a little bit smaller to go in the salad. And I'm just going to add them in with the cucumbers. Those can marinate with the cucumbers for half an hour, even up to an hour. That's not a problem. It's only the tomatoes I wouldn't let marinate for the full hour. Now let's just give this a quick little stir. Get the bocconcini in the dressing as well to let it marinate. We're going to be having dinner in about half an hour, so I'm going to go ahead right away and add my tomatoes. I'm going to go ahead and just add all the tomato juices right into my salad. And now I'm going to give it a quick stir. I might have put a little bit too much cucumber in here. I wasn't quite planning on making a salad this big, but oh well, we'll eat it. Looking at this, there's not a lot of dressing, so I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more, probably about another tablespoon or so. And now I'll just set that off to the side until we're ready to have dinner. Here we have tonight's dinner. We have the rotisserie chicken from Costco. I removed the skin. I just wasn't feeling it tonight, with my Instant Pot warm baked potato salad. And on the side, we have a cucumber, tomato, bocconcini, balsamic dressing salad as well. Tonight for dinner, I just made side dishes. We use that Costco rotisserie chicken as our main protein, and then I just made side dishes to go with it. The first one I made was the Instant Pot warm baked potato salad. I originally came up with this recipe last year, but it was a few years in the making. For the last few summers, I have tried to make a baked potato salad, but in previous years, I failed. It was either lacking flavor or came out really dry. I came up with this recipe last year and we absolutely love it. It has amazing flavor. It's not dry at all. But with that being said, I've got to admit it, I overdressed that salad last night. Either I made too much dressing or I didn't cook enough potatoes. Either way you look at it, there was too much dressing. I overcompensated for the fact that I know that potatoes do absorb some of that dressing, but yes, there was too much dressing on that salad. With that being said, it was still great. It was extremely flavorful. It just had a little bit too much dressing. We love this salad. It does really taste like a baked potato. Also, it's very versatile. If you like different toppings on your potatoes, you can go ahead and add those in as well. The first night we make this, we serve it warm right out of the Instant Pot, but we almost always double the recipe and have enough for leftovers. The next time we eat this, you can reheat it in the microwave, or you can even eat it at room temperature. You could eat it cold. I'm personally not a fan of it cold. If we decide at the last minute we're going to have it, what I'll usually do is I'll just pop it in the microwave for a minute or two on a really low power level just to take that chill off of it. I don't like it cold, but if you bring it up to room temperature, it's great. You can eat it just like any potato salad. We love it. We will continue to make it, and making potatoes in the Instant Pot is amazing. You don't have to babysit them, because I don't know about you guys, I can literally be standing beside my stove watching the potatoes, and somehow they will still manage to boil over, and then I have to clean my stovetop. So making Instant Pot potatoes is definitely a plus for me. Next, I made the cucumber tomato bocconcini with homemade balsamic dressing salad. If you follow me on Instagram, you will see that I make that salad all the time. Until recently, I haven't had tomatoes. I've just been making it with cucumber and bocconcini, but I absolutely love this salad. It's just something different. I do love to make salads that don't have lettuce in them. Generally, the base of them will be cucumbers. I have an obsession with cucumbers. It's just fact. But this salad is great. The bocconcini in there, especially if you let the cucumbers and the bocconcini marinate for about 30 minutes, they absorb that dressing and it is so good. But it's a nice, light, fresh salad, and it's something different because it doesn't have lettuce in it. We will continue to make that salad as well. All in all, tonight's dinner was a household hit. We loved it. We would make both of these side dishes again. As I've mentioned, we've hit our first heat wave of the summer, and it's not supposed to break until Thursday or Friday. I have some apples that really need to be used up, and honestly, I'm not sure, especially with the heat, if they're going to make it till Thursday or Friday. I really should have made something with them last week, but since I was working in the office, I didn't have time to bake anything. So I needed to find something I could do with those apples that didn't include turning on my oven. Now, I've actually made this exact same recipe but done it in the oven because I like the proportions. One thing I find with some apple crisps is they're too sweet. I'm going to try this apple crisp this time in the slow cooker. Let's head in the kitchen and let's get started. To get started making my slow cooker apple crisp, I went ahead and peeled and chopped up 7 apples. The original recipe calls for 6, but I had 2 apples that were really small. I'm going to go ahead and add 1/3 cup of sugar, a teaspoon of cinnamon. That's all that's left, so let's just use it. And lastly, a tablespoon of cornstarch. Now I'm just going to go ahead and give these a mix. I'm just going to go ahead and do it with my hands because I think I should have used a bigger bowl. Story of my life. Those are all mixed up. Just let me wash my hands. Now I've brought over the base of my slow cooker. I'm just going to go ahead and dump the apples in the bottom. And now I'm just going to set this off to the side and we'll make the crumble mixture. Sorry guys, not sure what's up today. For some reason, when I go to add to a video, my camera's not recording. In this bowl, I have 1/2 cup of all-purpose flour, a cup of oats, 1/3 cup of brown sugar. Turns out I did need more cinnamon, so I went down to my pantry and grabbed this. I put a teaspoon of cinnamon and 1/2 cup of melted butter in here and just mixed it together. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab my crock pot so we can put this on top of the apples. Now I'm going to go ahead and top my apples with the crumb mixture. Thinking maybe I should have used my smaller crock pot, but oh well, it'll still come out good. And I probably should have just used my hands to put the crumble on. Now I'm going to go ahead, put the lid on. I'm going to cook this on high for 2 hours, but the recipe says you can also do it on low for 3.5 to 4. Let's go get this cooking. There we go. My crock pot is on high, and I'm going to let that cook for 2 hours. And there is the apple crisp. It's been cooking for just over 2 hours. We're going to let that cool off a little bit and then enjoy it with some ice cream. Here is our Instant Pot apple crisp served with a scoop of vanilla ice cream. Slow cooker apple crisp. As I mentioned in my intro, I've used this exact same recipe, but I've done it in the oven. I've always been hesitant to do it in the slow cooker because one of the things I love about apple crisp is the crisp topping. And I was thinking to myself, how is it going to become crisp in the slow cooker? With that being said, it wasn't crisp, but it wasn't soggy. So it did still have a little bit of a crunch factor, which we enjoyed. Now, with that being said, the one thing I didn't like about this was I found the oats still had a raw oat flavor to them. They felt like they weren't cooked. Now, I'm not sure if that might partially be because of how I cooked it. I decided to use my large slow cooker because I thought the more thin everything was spread out, the better it would cook. I may need to actually use my smaller slow cooker so everything is more condensed. And I might also try next time cooking it on low for longer to see if that would overcome the raw oat flavor. Aside from that, we did enjoy this dish. It is a great option when turning on your oven isn't an option. But yeah, I definitely need to see if I can find a way to get rid of that raw oat flavor. If we didn't have that raw oat flavor, this would have 100% been a hit. I will try it again in the smaller slow cooker and cook it for longer on low and see if we overcome it. But that are my only word of caution about this recipe is that the crumble did have a raw oat flavor to it. Thank you for stopping by and checking out this week's video. If you're looking for more Instant Pot, slow cooker, air fryer recipes, please consider joining my YouTube family and clicking that subscribe button down below. And if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. We are going into the summer season and I do live without air conditioning, so a lot of my videos will include slow cooker, Instant Pot, and air fryer videos. Thanks again for stopping by. Have a wonderful week, everyone.